Good evening, and thanks for coming out this evening. I think we're right at 6. I see some folks still walking in the door. Most of you in this room I'm familiar with. I'm Mr. Parsley, the superintendent. Appreciate you being here this evening, and exciting time as we're finally about to the end. And at least for me, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I think from a strategic standpoint, when it came to Franklin, knowing the numbers and the size, that we felt like that Franklin probably needed to be at the end. And more so to allow us to go through this process. And we've done that 3 different times, and currently with Vigo Elementary right now. As we go through tonight, you're predominantly going to hear from Mrs. Pancake. You're going to hear as well from Mr. Salters. I thank both of them. I thank the entire team that has worked with me and as we've gone through this project. You've got Dustin Jones, and I think Dustin is working to kind of, as we're on the Facebook Live, Dustin's taking care of a lot of that. But from a logistics standpoint, the idea of displacing, and especially when you're talking about 500 students, could be somewhat frightening, and especially at the very beginning. Had I not had the people that I had around me, that include Dustin and Tim, but also Mary Beth Gabney, who's our transportation director, Mike Zadie, who is our food service director, Tara's here, Mike works under Mike as well, Rudy Lowen, who is our facilities director. The logistics of trying to pull everything off, Sarah Schutz, our corporation head nurse, was a struggle, and we had to kind of figure out some things, and I think transportation was the largest. As you'll hear tonight, WCC, or the Washington Christian Center, or the former Washington School, is our primary hub. It has been from day one. It makes a lot of sense, and we're going to be able to expand out with our footprint in that building next year to give us basically the entire run of that building. You'll hear some different things when it comes to transportation. One thing that I'm going to encourage you to use our bus system next year, but I also realize that may not be for everyone. And some things have changed within the VCSC when it comes to busing, and rightfully so. I think some parents and grandparents over time have maybe had some concerns with transportation, but the VCSC owns in large part the largest number of buses. We own our drivers, or control the drivers, which gives me some satisfaction because those are our folks. Those are not contracted, and they buy into the corporation, which I'm very much appreciative of. So when it does come to transportation, putting students on buses next year would certainly help us. And we've come up with a couple different options, and you're going to hear again from Mrs. Pancake and Mr. Salters. But if you choose that that's not what you want to do, and you want to drop them off and pick them up like you've done right out here, we'll certainly continue to honor that. But I would just simply stress that. The excitement is we've gone through already 3 different buildings. Riley was an interesting one, and if you've had the opportunity to see Riley and then Tecumseh Harrison, you know that there are wow factors. And when it came to Riley, we were unsure, quite frankly, when we started this journey, what was going to happen to Riley. And Riley ended up staying as an elementary school. We were able to completely redo the inside and basically brought it to a brand new building that was in the 1960s. And as I always joke in Vincennes, a building in the 1960s is a new building, and hence why we call it the new elementary school in Vincennes, even though it goes back to that age. Tecumseh Harrison began to pose, I think, really the issues that might be exposed as we go through the displacement and the remodel. Because with Tecumseh Harrison, you had a 1900 structure, and then you had add-ons over the course of time. And we learned an awful lot with our construction team and the construction manager of Garmong and our architect of Andy Mizak, which, again, I think helps pave the way for as we get to Franklin. Tecumseh Harrison was most definitely a wow factor when we opened the doors. I couldn't believe the amount of people that came out this past summer to see the inside of that building. I know that if there was any complaint probably about Tecumseh Harrison, it was folks said, well, I really don't care for those metal plates, that as you drive by, this building's not going to have those metal plates. But if you actually get to see the inside of Tecumseh Harrison, those metal plates make a little more sense. our architect and construction manager, when it came to Vigo, said that the Vigo would be a wow, but probably not quite to the nature of what we saw with Tecumseh Harrison and what we would end with Franklin. Well, in the end, I think you're going to find that Vigo is just as impressive when and tentatively we've set July 17th for the open house for Vigo. Vigo is impressive. One of the things that's been important for me from day one is that the staff needs ownership when it comes to the building. I'm not an interior decorator. I'm not choosing wall colors and carpet and the different things that go inside the building. My concern as the school superintendent is to be sure that we're on budget and we're on time. And those are the things that I focus my time on and let the staff have the ownership when it comes to the building. Mrs. McCarty's done an awesome job choosing with her staff the things that are going on in that building. We're about 75, maybe pushing 80% completion. We're actually ahead of schedule where we were, and I'm excited about what has happened at Vigo because two of the primary contractors are coming to this building. Wolf Construction, who's local, was awarded the Franklin project. We've been most impressed with what they've done, and our Wire Electric is also coming with him to this building. And I think you will be very impressed when you get to see the finished product. You know, some of those things, our buildings needed upgrade. We need an elevator. We need restrooms on all floors. You'll see all of that's going to happen in Franklin, but what you will actually see at the end, everything will come out of this building. We'll take it down to the absolute bare bone, and then we'll put back brand new that will be here hopefully for many more years to come. I love Vincennes, and I have no intentions of updating my resume, and I certainly don't want a building project that has to drive me out of here, that I end up somewhere else. So I live here, I take ownership in our buildings as well. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Mrs. Pancake. I would simply say this to you, that as questions come up, I'm very accessible. I think most of you know that you see me out and about, and that don't ever hesitate to ask me or call me or whatever the case may be. We'll certainly be open to questions once we get through everything as well this evening, but you've got an outstanding team in Mrs. Pancake and Mr. Salters that are going to kind of take things from here.
Thank you, Mr. Parsley, and thank you for leading us in this project. Thank you, parents, and I want to thank the operations team as well and the other VCSC elementary principals. They've been a big help in planning for this last displacement, and Mr. Clemens and the teacher leadership team here at Franklin. We've been meeting and discussing some of these things as well. So the big thing that many of us wanted to know as the other elementaries were getting remodeled is, what will we do with all of Franklin's students? So that's the first point that we're going to talk about. And I was fortunate enough to get some more classrooms opened up at Washington Christian Center. So when we found out that we could, in fact, hold our kindergarten, first and second graders at Washington Christian Center, where that is our main hub. That's where everyone starts their day. We were super excited and relieved. Grade 3 will be at Free Methodist Church. Free Methodist Church is at 1423 North 4th Street, and they will start the day at Washington Christian Center, and then we will bus to Free Methodist. 4th grade will be at First United Methodist Church. The address of that's 411 North 4th Street. And then last but not least, 5th grade will be at Thursday Church. They're on Main Street, so you can find that number. The nice thing about the three churches and Washington Christian Center is there are places where students can have somewhat like a cafeteria atmosphere for food. They have gyms and green spaces for recess. So we will talk about what a typical day will look like later on in this presentation, but we know that the other schools have served lunch, which we prepared the lunch, and Tara can speak to this. They prepared the lunch at Washington Christian Center, and then we move, they travel and transport those lunches to the churches. So students get breakfast first thing in the mornings at Washington Christian Center, and then lunch will be for 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the churches. Obviously, K1, 2 will have lunch in Washington Christian Center. So when we think about getting all these students to the different locations, we're going to talk about transportation. And transportation, again, Washington Christian Center is our central hub. This is where everyone will start the day, everyone will end the day at Washington Christian Center. Busing will be important this year, so if it is an option for you, please don't hesitate to take the busing system. It will be a lot easier on you, the students, and the school staff if you are able to do that. For example, there's my son Matthew, 25 years ago, or no, 20 years ago maybe. This was his first day off the school bus. Where was Mom? I was right there to get that picture as he got off, and it was still a special moment because I know so many times we're hesitant to put our child on a bus, but don't be afraid to do it. I did it. I was glad I did. I go back to that picture many times and tear up a little, but it's okay to ride the bus. We will have I know a lot of questions are probably going through your mind about Franklin pickup and drop off, and as we get numbers, we'll figure out where each grade level will be picked up and dropped off. But how you get that information, Mr. Salters is going to go over some ways that we're going to be giving information to you throughout this process.
So the key thing that we wanted to do is to make things as easy and simple for you as possible. We know this is kind of a big thing. We're going to be in 4 different buildings, and sometimes it's like, man, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of things going on. So how do we get all this, and how do we figure things out quickly? One of the things that we've done, we've created with the past couple relocation sites is obviously busing became very important, and that's something that we will stress. It's going to be the quickest and easiest way to get kids to and from school just because of the sheer numbers that we'll be dealing with. Now, that doesn't mean you have to, but that's just what we're seeing with some of the numbers. What we did is we created a kind of Google-based bus website that's very simple to use, and you can go to it, go to your school, and you can pick the bus. And what you'll see on the buses that you'll pick will be an interactive map. You can click on those dots and it'll give you an approximate time of where those locations are. Now, we do our best to make sure that we're a block, two blocks within that, and if you think it's too far, then you can get a hold of us, and we work very well to make sure that that spot's there. So we put this up there so you can see this. It's going to be on your Franklin page. It's going to be on a special website for specifically relocation issues. It's going to be on an app that we've created specifically for this that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But the key thing is we want to make sure that this information's there, it's easy to get to, and you know where it is, and it's simple to use. And Google's very simple to use, and we've had a lot of success with it, with Riley, with Tecumseh, with Vigo, and now hopefully with you. Another thing that we talked about, different possible ways of transportation or getting to and from school, is Washington Christian Center used to be obviously Washington School. So this used to be a heavy walking school. So what we've done is we've outlined the old Washington School District, and if you want to, this will be an area that kids can walk to school. Now, you don't have to, but we're opening it up so you can walk to school if you want to. This is one of the things when I was a kid. We lived in the Heights when I was in kindergarten through 2nd grade, and I remember my mom walking me down to school every day, and then we moved to Washington Avenue by St. Clair, and my brothers and I walked to school every day. So this was something that I remember doing as a child. It's the old Washington School area, so it'd be the Heights area, down past Wheeler, 14th Street, St. Clair, Washington Avenue. We also have an interactive map that you'll be able to see all this. That'll be on the app, that'll be on the website, but the key thing is we're trying to make sure that it's easy for you to get kids to and from school. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of kids there, and we do know that the city does use Washington Avenue a lot. And the last thing we want to do at a school is completely shut down transportation in that area, because that's kind of the main artery for the city. We want to be a good steward and a good partner with the city. So when that kind of gets to pick up and drop off, one of the things that we're going to be using, and as Ms. Pancake discussed, we're still kind of working out details, but we're very blessed that the Parks Department is going to let us build some sidewalks inside of Gregg Park, and you'll be using Gregg Park for pickup and drop off. So you'll have sidewalks that are built through the park that'll go straight to our property, And one of the key things that you have to remember about this is it keeps students and buses and other traffic away from each other. So everything's separated and everything's a little bit safer. And that's kind of the key that we're looking for. So Greg Park, when you kind of imagine it the way you look at it, I'll show you a map here in a second, is if you go to the big playground pieces, in front of the smaller piece in front, there'll be sidewalks built in front of there. And in front of the bigger piece in the back, there'll be some sidewalks built through there. Those sidewalks will lead to our property, where Washington School is at, and then the students will enter to, you know, where that gravel lot is right now in front. They'll go to there because obviously bus traffic and some parent traffic will be going in the back. This keeps everybody safe, this keeps everything separated, and that's what we're looking for. Now, when you look at Greg Park, obviously that's there. I don't know if we'll see this really well, but that's where we'll be at right there. It'll be the same typical Greg Park traffic pattern that you're used to seeing. You'll come in one way, you'll drop off by the play equipment or whatever sidewalk area is open, and then you'll go out like you traditionally go out Greg Park. The key thing that we wanted to do and why we chose this option, or why we decided to go with this option, is this takes traffic off of Washington Avenue and then puts it on Niblack, which is a secondary road compared to a main road like Washington Avenue. If you've been down there with Vigo anytime during this relocation, Vigo has a lot less kids, but there's at times it's a little bit slow in front of there. Well, you double the amount of kids, and what we would see is probably something 40 minutes to an hour for drop-off if we try to do something similar with them. And that's just not sustainable or not doable at all. So this is the best option that we have to go through Greg Park, and what's nice is the Parks Department is letting us do this. The city's been really good on supporting a lot of things that we've done. As you see kind of the stop signs with our bus signs, our street department goes out and they put those signs up for us when we update our maps every summer. And that's something that's very beneficial to us, so we don't have to go out there as a staff and be able to get that. They're better and more equipped and have the equipment to do those things. What that'll look like, that's basically what it'll look like. Now, that red line, that'll be the secondary sidewalk. It curves a little bit just so it naturally flows with those things. And the things that you need to remember too, now that we've completely resodded Inman Field, there'll be more things that are happening there. So the Parks Department's really excited to have sidewalks in there as well, because that allows for easy travel to go in there. So those sidewalks will go straight through Greg Park, onto our property, around to the front, where students that will be dropped off there will go into that area. We do know it's a little bit of a walk, but once again, we kind of emphasize this is kind of the best option that we have at this point. And we think it'll work very well, and we're very thankful that the Parks Department has let us do this. Now, you're probably thinking, there's a lot of information you've gone on, and probably a lot more information that you're going to continue to go over. One of the things that we started with this year, we really focused on with our high school, and went really well, is we created an app for the high school. Well, it went so well that we decided in January to kind of update it for all of our elementary schools. So inside of the app, you can pick specific schools that you want to follow and the information there, and it's specifically key to your school. And one of the things that we did to that, that you see at the top, we put a specific Franklin relocation remodel information there. So this PowerPoint presentation's on there. Commonly asked questions are in there. The bus stop relocation sites there. The interactive walking maps there. Any videos that we update that you'll see on our Facebook pages will be there. All the information that you need will be located there. So we wanted it to be simple and at a click of a button. And it kind of just worked out perfectly the way that we saw it work with the high school. We were able to share things out, that we could use this for Franklin specifically for this. And this is going to be a nice tool to have that we didn't have when we did some of the other relocation sites. And you also have the website that'll go to that. So let's say you don't like apps, you'll have a Franklin Building Updates website that'll have all this information as well. And like the key thing that we want to do is as much information we can give you on as many platforms as possible, so wherever you want to get it and however you're comfortable with getting it, that information is there for you. And there's also buttons on there for you to ask us questions on the fly if there's something that you're maybe concerned with or something that you're kind of iffy about. Even if you've kind of gone through it over and over and you're like, well, I'm pretty sure this is it, but I still need to ask. We want you to be able to ask. We're all open books, and we want you to be able to get the best possible information for you. The key thing too, make sure you follow the Franklin page on Facebook and the VCSE news page as well. A lot of information goes out from here. Quick information, very precise videos, tutorials, and those kind of things. Over the summer, we'll be going over a lot once we get the sidewalks built. I'll be out there filming these things. I'm sure Mrs. Pancake will be joining me. And we'll kind of go through the process and how this will look. Because we want you guys to be as prepared as possible. We don't want to be this thing that hey, here's a day before school, figure this out. Here's a couple things. We're going to make sure we update you constantly over the summer to make sure that you guys know what's happening. Because the last thing we want is more stress. It's really kind of an exciting time. This is the last big piece of the elementary puzzle, and if you've seen all the other schools and been to the schools, it's amazing what we've done so far, and I'm really excited about what we're going to do here. And now on to a normal school day.
It's going to be normal. Thank you, Mr. Salters. I appreciate how he has made all this accessible. Please don't hesitate over the summer. If you think of a question that we don't get answered tonight, don't hesitate to contact me. This will go to my voicemail, 812-882-6081. And please, even if it's July 1st, feel free to contact me. He has my email up on those websites, so you can email as well. Let's go through a typical day. It's going to be very similar to how we start our day now. 7:15. You are able to drop your child off at Washington Christian Center. We will start serving breakfast around 7:30. That's what we do here now at Franklin. And then buses will start arriving. And our K-1-2 students, they will enter Washington Christian Center and go to classrooms after they grab their breakfast. And then our grades 3, 4, 5 students will have breakfast and line up in the gym at Washington Christian Center. The tardy bell will ring at 8. We'll start school with the pledge and the kindness pledge, just like we do now at Franklin. That's usually about 8:02. Then we'll load up our grades 3, 4, 5 students onto buses. Their instructional day will start on the bus. He's like, how can that be possible? Well, I've worked with the teachers and we've been figuring out some things that we do in a normal school day now that we could instruct on the buses. And those things include our read alouds. Most of the teachers say they can read aloud on a bus. But if they can't, it makes them sick, we can record that, and so students can get the read aloud on the bus. The other thing in math, part of the math lesson in the math block is the fluency. And even our 5th graders are going with the fractions and they're counting up by fourths, 1, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 2. They will be able to do that chorally on the bus, and that'll take that part of the lesson out. So we're really excited that from day one, we're going to expect the students to turn those ears and eyes open as we get on the buses and then get to churches. Parents, if your child is tardy, I know that might be one question. We have tardies here. If they miss the bus to one of the locations at grades 4, 3, 4, 5, then you would need to meet the bus over at one of the church locations. So you can call the school. Miss D will still answer the phone, and you can make arrangements for the person who answers the doorbell at the churches to let your child in. And then it'll be the same as Franklin. You'll get a tardy ticket, etc. We ask that if your child's going to be absent, please call that in just like you would now. Let's talk about lunch. We have created a schedule for all the locations. They will have their blocks in. They'll have the reading block, the math block, the writing block, all of the instruction. Project Lead the Way. The specials will have music, art, PE, second steps. That's our character education program. So we have been able to fit all of that in, even with traveling on the buses, and just taking some of those things that we can do on the bus and creating a schedule from that. We're able to get our times in that we need to. As a matter of fact, I think it was Mrs. Greentree who said, well, this looks just like our normal day. So we've been able to cut some things and keep those block times. Working towards goals and helping our students grow from where they are takes priority for us, even in a remodel situation. Lunch will be served, and I spoke to that earlier. Sodexo has done a marvelous job in getting food in a timely manner, and we are able to give them the lunch times that we need in order to maximize instructional time, and they've already said they can make that happen for us, so I appreciate that. And then afternoon instruction, most of the time in grades 3, 4, 5, afternoon instruction includes those special times, so we are getting that in the schedule. Then the dismissal, they'll wrap it up about 2:20, start loading onto buses by 2:30, and then make their way back to Washington Christian Center, where we will have dismissal. There is recess. We've found places that they can have some green space. Mrs. McCarty mentioned to me at Thursday Church they bought some games that are kind of softer material that they can hit, some rackets and balls and things like that. So we plan to do the same. Daycare will be at Washington Christian Center, and if you utilize that service, Shirley will still be in charge, and she currently has a daycare there with Vigo. So we'll have that, expect the same program. It'll just be at Washington Christian Center. We have a phone system. Miss D will still answer the 8176 number if you call that number. And then each of the locations will have a phone that we can get messages out to the churches. So if your child has a dentist appointment, for instance, don't hesitate to call 8176. That message gets sent out, and then the person who is going to be in charge of opening the doors and checking people in will make sure your child is ready to go for that appointment. We'll have a video doorbell that works from a phone. So the safety and security is the same way it is now. If you volunteer at Franklin, you know you have to come in, get your background check, get scanned, and your driver's license. That will be the same process. If you volunteer at one of the churches, you will check in at Washington Christian Center first, and then go to the location site that you need to go to. So we will make sure that safety and security is the same as it is now, and we will utilize our background checks, our safe visitor system, as Vigo currently does as well. The location sites are locked down. Visitors have to check in just like before, so that should assure you, that we're going to keep the students in the safe areas and keep that locked down. Special services will continue. The specials classes, special education services, speech services, occupational therapy, if your child is involved in that, we will still be able to get those services out to the churches or Washington Christian Center. Do we have any questions so far? I know we haven't stopped yet for any questions. Mr. Salters, do you have any from the Facebook Live page? Anybody in the audience have any questions? Okay. We will have an open house, and we've already scheduled those days. They're up here, Tuesday, August 6th. And we always have our Meet the Teacher night on the first Tuesday before school starts on Thursday. We will do the same. We'll ask that children bring their school supplies, and they'll meet their teachers. You will get a postcard again in the mail, just like last year, on who, or your child will get a postcard on who the teacher will be. So look for that over the summer. Grades K1 and 2, your Meet the Teacher night will be at Washington Christian Center. Doors open at 5. The presentation is 5:15 to 6 p.m. And the reason we've staggered these times, many of our staff will go to all 4 of these. Grade 3 is at Free Methodist. The doors open at 6. Presentation is 6:15 to 7. Grade 4 is at First United Methodist. Doors open at 7. Presentation 7:15 to 8. And then grade 5 at Thursday Church. Doors open at 7:15. The presentation is 7:30 to 8:15. So we ask that you try to be there if possible. If not, feel free to call me, and we can make arrangements for you to see the churches before school starts if you're out of town during those times, just like any other year. Do we have any questions?
We've got one from here. How do we sign up for School Messenger?
Oh, great. How do we sign up for School Messenger? You text yes to a number.
Oh. Well, I don't know the number off the top of my head. If you go to our VCSC website, on the top, there'll be a tab.
I have the number. Hold on just a second.
Also, if you don't have the number, if you go to the website on top of the tab, it'll say School Messenger, and there's a quick form that you can fill out. If you've already filled it out, we still have your information. You can have up to 3 contacts on there. So we can connect 3 contacts to you. So if you want to add more information or have somebody close to you or somebody that, is the pickup, drop off, or helps you out, make sure that you add that number to that, because we can make sure that that number gets tagged to the student. Dustin and I check through those numbers weekly to make sure stuff's added, deleted, or improved.
Text yes to 67587. That'll get you hooked up to Messenger. And I do use that frequently, so it's a good way to stay connected. Any other questions? We look forward to a new building. How many of you went here to Franklin when you were a child? So you know the need is there, and we're super excited. I was able to tour Vigo last week, and it just made the whole thing seem very real. It's very nice, and it's very exciting, and we want our students to have the best education possible and the best place to be educated, and they're going to be so proud of it. Just as we're proud of this old building and the historical aspect of it, we're going to keep parts of that, and we're going to update and have a very nice place for the future of our students, and we're super thankful that we're given that opportunity. I want to thank you for being here this evening. Yes, ma'am. What are our plans for the chili supper? I'm glad you asked that question, because that's a special thing in my heart. If you heard me on the radio the other day, he asked, and I was like, yes, we're having a chili supper. It will be held in an alternate location, but we will still have it. We have several options, so we can speak to those options as it gets near time. We have Washington Christian Center, and they had several events there. And I believe Vigo even held one of their fundraisers there, so that's always an option. And the Vincent's Education Foundation is always willing to let us use Adams if necessary. And then we always have Lincoln High School's facility as well, because I believe that's where we cook our chili. So we have options there, and we will have a chili supper. It will go down in the books. I've been digging out some of the books, and it's, that chili supper has been going on for 60-some years, and we're not going to let it go down because we're remodeling. We will have it. Anybody else? Yes?
Sorry, is the first day of school Thursday, August 8th?
It is, yes. Thursday, August 8th is the first day of school. It was moved up a little, which I'm thankful for. Yes? There is a limited choice policy in place, and some feel that might be a better situation for their children, and that is an option. The paperwork for limited choice is at the administration office across from Lincoln High School, and that application the season is open right now, and it does close July 19th. So you'll want to make sure, if that's kind of what you're leaning towards, that you go ahead and fill that out. Yes? Our nurses hub will be First United Methodist. However, we have several VCSC nurses around these locations, and so we're basically assigning the closest nurse to each place. For instance, at WCC, Riley Elementary's nurse is very close, so she could be there. And if it's a terrible emergency, we of course call 911 first, and then the nurse would be on the way as well.
So if, my daughter has an inhaler, if she could need it during the day, do they call a nurse over, or?
There's a person designated at each location to kind of be that nurse without the degree. And we do that now. Our people take care of each other, and we've already started talking about who the people will be designated. They would be also the people who would give medicine to students during the school day. We have a few who get medications, so good question. Yes? Yes, there will be after-school care at Washington Christian Center, just as it is now. Those applications will be available at the Meet the Teacher Night. You can sign them. No. Anybody else? Okay. Yes.
Do we have a place for Cub Scouts?
We will work that out for sure. We don't really anticipate any of the happenings or services that we have now discontinuing because of the remodel. Anybody else? Any Facebook questions, Mr. Jones?
They asked about the nurse, but you just answered that.
Okay. They also have, the VCSC head nurse, Sarah Schultz, has created nursing cabinets at each location, and I've been able to go through those, and everything that we have in our nurse's office, they have there. They're able to have locked medications for those students who take medication in the school day, so it is very similar to what our nurse's office has here. And it's worked out fine. The other schools have used it, and they've had no issues. Anybody else? Mr. Parsley, did you have anything else?
I'm good.
Mr. Salters?
Fantastic.
Okay. Mr. Jones? Okay. Thank you for attending our forum. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us.